Big Rapids, Michigan. Defined by the rushing rapids of the Muskegon River, which runs through it. The town got its start with the lumber trade, but now is best known as the home of Ferris State University. For 140 years, this space, now nearly 1,000 acres, has facilitated the instruction of generations of successful students. This living legacy began in 1884 when Helen and Woodbridge Ferris founded the Big Rapids Industrial School in a meager room in a downtown building. This school was founded with the principle that education should be for all children, all men and all women, all the time. Woodbridge developed this philosophy as a young man, where his evenings were spent listening to great speeches with his father, speeches given by American greats like Frederick Douglass.
His father or his grandfather took him to hear Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist. I think it had a great impact on him. Mr. Ferris early on heard people who were way ahead of their time in terms of rights for women, rights for African Americans, rights for immigrants and others.
Ferris's thirst for education led him to be a teacher and principal of his hometown school in Spencer, New York. Here, he would marry his first wife, Helen Gillespie, who similarly shared a passion for education.
She was very much his partner. He treated her as an equal partner. I think she was an equal partner.
She really wanted to support and see success and look at things in new ways, create opportunities for those who had not had those opportunities previously. I think she was an activist and a mentor.
They decided they were going to be teachers together, and they got the opportunity to come up here where they could actually be in charge of their own school.
They found that perfect place in Mecosta County, roughly 60 miles north of the bustling city of Grand Rapids. The town of Big Rapids, formerly known as Leonard, was founded just 30 years before the Ferrises had arrived.
There wasn't a whole lot for industry. It was just sort of a spot on the map. It really didn't start growing until Woodbridge Ferris came here.
I think what Ferris found in Big Rapids is what is happening right now. A lot of really good, hardworking people that want to better themselves.
The Ferris family chose Big Rapids, Michigan, in hopes of attracting lumberjacks and farmers and anyone who lacked access to education.
You think about that history, and you think about his desire to provide an opportunity for anyone, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your gender. He was focused on anyone and everyone having an opportunity. That, to me, still speaks loudly here almost 140 years later.
Women were a part of the very first class, which is incredibly unusual. For women to have a professional degree was, they were way ahead of their times to see women as equal citizens to men.
They would use donations back from people's salaries in order to be offering more scholarships so that more students who couldn't afford it could come for these programs. There were two girls who they gave free tuition to because there were only two teachers at that point. There was Woodbridge and his wife, Helen.
The first semester only had 15 students enrolled in Common English and bookkeeping, but steadily, the Big Rapids Industrial School grew and eventually built their first facility, becoming the Ferris Institute.
You had the ginormous building that they had built there, a very large building where most of the classrooms were.
The first floor was provisioned for chemistry and pharmacy. The second floor was equipped for biology, literature, and drawing. The third floor was for shorthand and typewriting. The Ferris Institute was truly a success at this point in 1901.
The college prep program, they would set you up and they'd say, okay, you need to have a skill set in here. Can you teach math? Can you teach history? Can you teach penmanship?
The program was incredibly unique for its time, and it drew people to Ferris from across the nation. But one important connection was the Hampton Institute, a historically Black university.
And we found 60 or 70 African Americans who came up from Hampton, Virginia, Apparently there was an agreement between Mr. Ferris and Hampton Institute.
We kind of have an idea that because Booker T. Washington came here to speak in 1902, and Booker T. Washington was a Hampton grad, and he started the Tuskegee Institute. So the fact that Booker T. Washington and Mr. Ferris had this kind of collegial relationship kind of indicates that that's how the Hampton Institute and the Ferris Institute kind of got this connection together.
The Ferris mission to educate those who had never had access was truly unique. The Ferris Institute paved the path of education, while Jim Crow segregation laws were enforced in the South. The Hampton Institute recognized college at Ferris was different. There was opportunity for change here.
Came up here, they were well taken care of. As far as we could discover, just really changed this nation. Belford Lawson was the first African American to win a case before the United States Supreme Court.
It was at Ferris that he was inspired to study law. And so he wrote back a letter to the Hampton Institute and said that they're doing great here. Mr. Ferris is very inspiring. And he said, you know, I think I have discovered the way that I can make the world better, and that is by studying law.
Percival Prattis, who was the first African American to be in the press galleries of Congress in 1947. He actually, had an impact in the Grand Rapids area. Prattis was part of creating the first African American newspaper there. So when he was at the Chicago Defender, a historically Black newspaper, it was one of the leading newspapers in the country, and he became a voice for many Black Americans. People were freer to criticize Jim Crow, to advocate to African Americans to leave the South, to talk about political issues and stuff. And he was at the forefront of that.
All of these great Ferris students are woven into the history of the American experience. Woodbridge himself would also touch America on a larger scale. In 1913, he won the governorship of Michigan and served 2 terms. In 1922, Ferris won the election to the United States Senate. His winning edge was the mass of students who had graduated from his school, those who owed the fruits of their education to the efforts of this aged idealist. Through it all, Ferris would remain president of the Ferris Institute until his death in 1928. His legacy of equality stands as a core tenet of Ferris, even today, 140 years later.
I'm the 19th person who has been in this position. As number 19, when I go back to number 1 and look at him, that is the standard that I need to try to emulate.
Mr. Ferris had this character of boldness and of courage.
Those years under our founder set a foundation for us. When we treat people with respect, irrespective of their race or ethnicity or any other variable, we honor his legacy.